I asked Reddit, if you could create a show about anything in Harry Potter, what would you make? And there were so many good responses, and I want to share some of those responses. And there were two in particular I'm going to talk about at the end that I thought were so creative and so out of the box. But most people, the most popular one was people wanted the Weasleys as a sitcom, which I think would be so good. I could imagine like a Full House kind of show, which isn't really necessarily a sitcom. Is that a sitcom? That was like my generation of TV. I can imagine them all together. Like, there's laugh tracks going on in the background. Or just something about Fred and George opening their joke shop. I think that'd be such a good show. Another one, which is complete opposite. This is like The Crown, but make it the Malfoys. And a lot of people had this one, and a lot of people like this one, and also the Black family. So like the most ancient and noble House of Black, like a cool TV show on the entirety of the Black family, but just in the version of the Crown. And that'd be fun because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that they could do with like medieval wizards and witches. So I'd be really into that. I think that'd be hilarious, or maybe not hilarious. I think that'd be great. Another person said, I would love maybe one season of a show of the Riddle family. At first, it seems like a normal story about an upper-class family in the 1910s and 1920s, but slowly turns into a horror story when the Gaunt family gets involved. With the drama of Tom's sudden change following the love potion and then his return to them after she stops giving it to them, slowly going to the night Tom Jr. sneaks in to kill them, and ending with the maid finding the bodies. Maybe a brief pan over the police arresting Frank. I think that'd be a great show. I think that'd be so fun. And I think you could do a lot of cool horror elements to a show like that. So I think that'd be such a good show. Another person said, which I think this is so good, something around the Hogwarts staff, like teachers from back in the day. There's a staff teacher's lounge, and McGonagall lets the swears fly, and Snape tries to make awkward friendships around the water cooler. I could just imagine like an office version of the Hogwarts staff room. I think that'd be such a funny show. Great concept of a show. Someone says, I want something uniquely British and silly, which is great. I want that too. Open all hours, which I've never seen or heard of, except it's a shop in Diagon Alley. Sure, some British humor in there. This one was a great one. A show similar to the Magic School Bus, where every episode they start with Binns droning on about something from history, and a bunch of students sneak out of the class into the room of requirement, which provides a pensive and a relevant memory, allowing them to travel back and witness the event. Then they sneak back into class before the lecture ends and they know all the answers to everything. I think I would be so into a show like that. That reminds me a lot of like a Wishbone. You remember that show with the dog, and it was like, he was a detective, but they used to go back in time and they used to like tell all the stories in history and all these like legends and stuff like that. I think that'd be such a fun show where it's like Magic School Bus oriented, and all the students, they just leave Professor Binns' class. He doesn't even notice them leaving, and they have an actual adventure in the history of what they're doing. That could be like a 30, 40 season show. They could just keep doing stuff in that because there's so much magical history involved. I would 100% be into that show. Another person, and this is a popular one, Harry has an aura, but in a sitcom, like he has to solve crimes, but is surrounded by incompetent trainees and colleagues. Or just like any crime drama following Mad Eye. There was a lot of aura discussion where people would love to see how the auras operate and how the auras work. I think that'd be so fun. Another person talked about the Regency era in Wizarding World, like a Pride and Prejudice, or a soap opera about Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley in the style of Downton Abbey. Anything that's like in that style, I think I would love. I think that'd be such a fun show. Someone said, I want to know about the founders of Hogwarts, which is everyone wants to know about the founders of Hogwarts, but this is a good one. Sometimes I think it's possible that if there were some effed up stuff done to Salazar Slytherin that caused him to have such a narrow take on wizard purity. I would love this. Like a character that you hate, or that is just maybe like a side character. You don't really know what their motivation is, and then all of a sudden it comes out for what their motivation actually is, and you end up loving that character. I'm thinking of something like Fleabag, the first season where you don't know why this woman is the way that she is, and then all of a sudden it's revealed and you're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Or more recently, I'm thinking of like the one episode that they did in Skeleton Crew I just forget everyone's names in Skeleton Crew, but it's the one girl with like the little head piece, and they just did like a deep dive on her. And I think that was one of the better episodes that I've seen in the entire show, and maybe in Star Wars just in general in the last few years. It was so good. It just gave us a deep dive. Give me like a deep dive on why Salazar Slytherin is the way that he is. Like some kind of documentary on that would be great as well. Another idea was St. Mungo's medical drama, treating patients suffering from curses, transfigurations, medical diseases. There's probably enough for at least 6 episodes. I think there's enough for 60 years of episodes. That'd be kind of fun. That could be like a Grey's Anatomy or like a House or like, one of those medical emergency room dramas. I think that'd be really fun. Or even just like showing their training and how they're trained and what they actually do. I would love that. A lot of people liked the idea of showing what's happening during the Second Wizarding World from other perspectives as well. So a show dealing with all of the things that happened during the Second Wizarding War, how he took over the Ministry and what changed, the trials, the persecutions, the people on the run, some were catched and killed and others avoided capture, Hagrid and Maxime. There's so much in there that they can go into. Like side quests on all these characters and all these stories would be peak entertainment. I would love that. And there's so much familiarity in a story like that too, because we already know the stuff that's happening. So just expanding the universe wouldn't be that difficult, and it'd be really fun. Like each episode goes into a different character and what they encountered and dealt with during the Second Wizarding War. This one was great. This one said Draco's backstory on his indoctrination, maybe even childhood, into the Death Eaters and the hard decisions his family and him had to make to stay in the good graces of the Dark Lord. Always wanted a POV of his plans in the 6th book and a look into his pressure, or in the pressure that he was under to succeed because of his father's failure in the 5th book. Also, Lupin's story about being a werewolf while in Hogwarts and his journey with his friends as an unregistered animagus. That would be, I've always wanted that story. But the Draco one is so fascinating to me. I love a good redemption arc. So like seeing, or not even just, that was not even a redemption arc, just like a good origin story or like background to what he actually went through. Give us a little bit of depth on his character. Don't make him just this like, person that hates everyone. Give me like the reasons why he hates that, his indoctrination. Maybe he was abused as a child for someone. I don't know. I think that'd be a really fascinating story. Someone said a show about Voldemort creating all the Horcruxes. Dark, but I think it could be really good. I agree. I think that could be really, really good. Someone also said a full book version of The Life and Lives of Albus Dumbledore. That would be incredible as a book. Also incredible as like a 3-season show. That'd be so fantastic. I would love that. This was one of my favorites, but this is one of the most unpopular ones. Well, not unpopular one. It just didn't get any upvotes. But this one said, a Muggle teacher is assigned a new school, but because of an F-up with a letter from Hogwarts hiring a new teacher and his own letter to the new school, which gets swapped, he ends up in Hogwarts. The anti-Muggle protections could not work to the bearer of a Hogwarts letter, or at the same time he enters the castle, and the protections were getting some sort of maintenance. Like, that's the explanation. And now this teacher has to wing it in order to not get discovered. I think that would be so fascinating. That would be so fun. And then these two are my favorite because one is like a Ted Lasso kind of movie, and the other one was just such a fascinating concept for a show that we'll talk about at the end. But the sports movie was a sports movie about Quidditch and a Quidditch keeper as he faces retirement. Framed around the last game of his career, the story flashes throughout the years from when William Church was a young rookie and how he rose to dominance in the league. At one point, he was considered the best of the best, and the one relationship that he could never quite get right. Earlier in the season, he took a bad hit by a bludger that showed his reflexes aren't what they used to be, and upon further examination, revealed his deteriorating eyesight. He's been getting benched more and more. Often, his team calls up a rising star that reminds him of himself in his younger days. In his final game, fighting against his worn body and bad eyes, he's using everything he has left and holds the opposing team scoreless. When his team seeker finally catches the snitch, it's official. His final game was a shutout performance. When he comes off the pitch for the last time, who else is there waiting for him other than the woman of his dreams, the one who got away? That would be so good. This reminded me of Ted Lasso, which makes me want to branch off. They should make a Ted Lasso version of a Quidditch team, of a national Quidditch team, the national English Quidditch team, and they cannot find a coach, so they hire someone like Jurgen Klopp or like Mourinho or like one of these Pep. They hire one of these incredible coaches because they don't really have a good coach for Quidditch at the moment. And they just want a really, really good coach. So they hire a muggle, and then he comes in and transforms the program like a Ted Lasso kind of show. Where this whole post reminded me of like Roy Kent and Jamie Tart, like their whole relationship. I think a show like that would be so fun because Ted Lasso isn't really about soccer. You know, it's about soccer, but it's not really about soccer. It's about so much more. This show could be just what people need. Oh, it would be just what I need. And this is the final one. And this is what I think is one of the best that I've heard. I think this is such a fascinating concept, such an out of the box concept for a Harry Potter show. This one says, I would create a show that follows a muggle who lives in London on the same street as the Leaky Cauldron. He is convinced magic is real, but he can't prove it, and nobody believes him. He starts an unpopular YouTube channel to try to document his encounters with magic, but he just comes across as a conspiracy theorist nutjob. A group of bored muggle-born Hogwarts students find the YouTube channel over the summer and decide to start gaslighting the muggle with sleight of hand and optical illusions. They run out of ideas and decide to use some real magic, which lands them on the radar of the Ministry of Magic. A corrupt ministry official decides to use the muggle and his YouTube channel to expose the magical world so that he can position himself to sell magical secrets to the muggle government. The students and the muggle have to work together to stop the ministry official from carrying out his plan. And you know what this sounds like? This sounds like the background to Argus Filch. I don't know why, but I could imagine Filch in his younger days being a conspiracy theorist guy like this. He's a squib, so this really wouldn't work. You know, obviously he knows about the magical world. But imagine someone like a Filch, and then he, after this whole thing happens, he then goes and works in the castle because he knows about all the secrets. It's like a negative version of Jacob in the Fantastic Beasts series, where like he's enamored by magic, but he's like, you know, trying to stop it and prevent it. I think a show like that would be so fascinating. And this is cool out of the box thinking. I had never thought of a show like that. I'm always thinking of stuff kind of within the world, but like this is really out of the box. Such a good idea. I'm curious what other ideas that you have. Let me know in the comments below what other shows that you think Harry Potter, the whole Harry Potter universe franchise should start making, because there's so many cool ideas out there. So let me know in the comments below what other shows they should be making, or what you want to see as a series or a movie or whatever else. Make sure you give this video a like and make sure you subscribe if you want more Harry Potter nerdy content.